welcome to Rant on Reels. I'm Michael Fooch.
And I'm Xavier Bardet.
Today on the podcast, we do deep dives into Captive State, 5 Feet Apart, and we go into the vault to talk about The Sandlot.
All right, so please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, the whole lot. And if you disagree with any of our opinions, you can leave a comment. Or if you agree, that's always good too. We like positivity. But yeah, just leave a comment, please.
And if you're not into hour and a half, 2-hour podcasts, be sure to check our individual episodes on each of these movies that are reduced in time just specifically to those movies.
Great.
How you doing this week, Xavier?
I'm doing fantastic.
Why are you doing fantastic? How was your what happened this week that's so fantastic?
The Celtics are winning, and I don't have to answer this, okay? I'm gonna be mysterious and just say the Celtics are winning. That's it.
Okay. I'm doing great too, and I'm gonna be honest. I saw Captain Marvel again, and I'll be honest. I'm just as excited, or I enjoyed it just as much the third time as I did the first 2 times, and I would go see it again in theaters.
That's amazing.
I'm just gonna warn everyone here. There's gonna be a spoiler about Captain Marvel, so if you do not want any Captain Marvel spoilers, just turn off your station.
What? We already reviewed Captain Marvel. Why are you giving a spoiler?
I want to talk about a theory that I came up with after our review.
Okay.
So one of the things in Captain Marvel, we had the end credit scene or the mid credit scene in which Marvel comes to meet the Avengers, and it's been about a week since the last Avengers. And one of the things that we talked about on this podcast as potential criticisms of the movie Captain Marvel was that, this movie doesn't do a good job tying in the gap between Captain Marvel and Infinity War, where she's been. Mm-hmm. And another thing is it doesn't really explain why Nick Fury hasn't called her before. So the one thing I thought of, who says she hasn't called her before? Or who says Nick Fury hasn't called Captain Marvel before?
Yeah, who does? Who does say that?
Well, I'm just saying, theoretically, Captain Marvel could have been called, or Nick Fury could have called Captain Marvel in the first Avengers movie and in the second Avengers movie, and maybe other times as well.
Yeah, and then she could have just been like out of range or something like that.
No, I wasn't thinking out of range. My thought process was this. So, I think it's fair to say that between the events of Infinity War to the mid-credit scene, at least a week has passed, or at least 3 or 4 days have passed since those events. So it's fair to say that it took Captain Marvel 3 to 7 days to get to Earth. The events that happened in both the Avenger movies before Infinity War would have taken place in under 3 days. So who says she didn't get there just a little bit too late? And you could really solve this problem with like 2 minutes of dialogue and cutscenes in the movie. Just be like, have Captain Marvel know Steve Rogers, Bruce Banner, and Black Widow's names, and then they'll be like, how do you know who we are? Fury's kept me abreast of everything that's going on. I come to Earth as much as I can, but I don't need to because you guys are here to save the day.
Yeah.
And then it covers every criticism you could possibly have. It explains where she is.
It covers that criticism.
Even have cutscenes with like Fury calling Captain Marvel on the device in the movies.
That could work. I could see that working.
Yeah. So that's my theory. What do you think?
I think it's cool. It could work. Like I said when you I feel like there is times where he could have called her earlier, right, with the Thanos issue, or like,
But he doesn't know what's going on in Wakanda. We have a scene of dialogue in this movie, in Infinity War, where Maria Hill says something dropped in Wakanda. We don't know what it is, and a second later, people are disappearing.
Yeah.
So clearly, he doesn't know yet. There was no reason to call.
I just find, for me, I don't like that.
But you're looking at it from the comics. Look at it from the movie perspective.
Yeah. No, not even from the even from the movie perspective. He's seen as a guy that's always aware. He knows where the Avengers are. Like, who called him for Age of Ultron when he found
Maria Hill was playing double agent. Don't you remember?
Yeah, but was Maria Hill there?
Yeah, Maria Hill was remember she's working for the Avengers. She was in Stark Towers when they returned from defeating Hydra.
Yeah, but did she tell them that they were going back to Hawkeye's hiding place?
Yes.
Wow. When?
She would know everything. She's Maria Hill. She.
So if Maria Hill knows everything,
Also remember that they said in Age of Ultron. I know it's been a while since you've seen it, but they said in Age of Ultron that Fury has hid away and Maria Hill have hid away Hawkeye's family. So those would probably be the only two people, maybe with Phil Coulson as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyways, anything else going on? That's my theory. I'm
Okay.
glad you like it. I think it works. Any other news that's going on for the week?
Yeah. James Gunn is back to directing Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Does that surprise you at all, though?
I thought he'd come back.
I thought
so much of a backlash.
It was the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like for something that was said on Twitter 10 years ago.
Yeah, you can't really hold somebody accountable for that.
That's true. All right.
In my opinion, people change.
Does that make you feel better about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 now?
Yeah, I feel more safe.
More safe. I concur wholeheartedly. All right. Let's get started with movies of the week. So you want to start with Captive State?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Well, Xavier, start us off by giving your opening thoughts.
That was super boring. It's a big no thank you, and this movie kind of sucks. Yeah, that's my opening thoughts of the movie.
This movie, when I was deciding what to... I don't even know how to... the words are not necessarily coming to me because this movie is a fascinating movie for me as a movie fan. It really has everything that I'm looking for in a movie. I love science fiction. I'm a big science fiction fan. This movie has aliens coming to Earth. This movie has... We should also tell that there's spoilers at this point.
Oh, yeah.
From this point forward, there are spoilers, so be weary of any...
For Captive State, 5 Feet Apart, The Sandlot,
and maybe other
movies
as well.
that might be related, like your Aliens, because it's sci-fi, or like your Romance, because 5 Feet Apart.
Now, so as I was saying, this movie, this concept is right up my alley. You have aliens that come to Earth. You have the humankind surrendering, capitulating right away before the story even begins. It's about resisting the aliens. It's got twists. It's got turns. It's got almost everything you can ask for. And the concept's like, this is going to be good.
Yeah, but the execution.
And yet, I didn't like this movie at all. Yet, this movie disappointed me on almost every front except for one. John Goodman was the only thing I enjoyed in this movie. He was fantastic. But I have a hard time putting my finger on exactly what specific thing I didn't like about this movie. Maybe it's a bunch of small reasons kind of mished together. I think the cast, other than John Goodman, was very weak. I think the complexity of this story might have been better in a mini-series on Netflix or on HBO than an actual movie or even just a TV show in general. I even think the number of characters, like if it wasn't for me going back to check on IMDb, I couldn't name you a character from that movie.
Yeah, I think one was a detective.
Can you know his name?
No.
That's what I thought. It's William Mulligan, if you're looking for it. And lastly, I just didn't find this movie entertaining, and it was like Xavier said, I found it boring. And those are kind of my opening thoughts.
Yeah.
As we deep dive into this movie, I'll give you the gist of it because there is a lot of complexity in the storyline. But the gist is, aliens arrive to the planet Earth. The humans surrender, and this takes place immediately. And then we go to 9 years later. And we have this, computer like you would see in the Matrix movie that's typing to the resistance. And it's all about light a match or ignite a flame, right?
Light a match, ignite a war.
Yeah, light a war, exactly. That's kind of the concept of this.
I want
so
war.
We follow this resistance that's trying to kill a man in Chicago named Patrick Ellison. They want to assassinate him. and we see the interworkings of how this works. And it's actually kind of interesting in how like how they get their messages across and how
Isn't
they
it like
bring
courier
everyone
pigeons?
together. Yeah, exactly. They get a message from like from the factory. They give them like the
Yeah.
coordinates of who's going to be there. Then they use a carrier pigeon. The carrier pigeon puts an article into the newspaper. The newspaper takes a dog to get someone else. It's just a whole big thing. It's actually pretty interesting. So they assassinate this person, and then the police, John Goodman's character, he goes about to hunt these people down. And he is successful. He finds the number one kind of leader in the Chicago resistance cell, who is her name is Jane Doe. She's played by Vera Farmiga, and they kill her, and then they kill everyone who's involved in the plot is killed, and Goodman becomes the commissioner and goes to see the aliens in like what they call the closed zone. And it turns out in the end that he actually was the real leader, and he manipulated the situation, and he puts on this basically suit of dynamite and blows up the Chicago closed zone, and that destroys the.
And it starts the resistance, because then everybody sees that and they're like, we can fight back.
So, that's about the gist of the movie. I didn't miss anything, did I?
No.
So let's take some questions. My first question to you is, what do you think the downfall of this film is?
I feel like it tried way too hard to be overly complex. So it may have put more hand in trying to, it had a bunch of intertwining storylines, but like at some point they totally forget a character. Like for one movie, they totally forgot about, like for the scene when they were assassinating the guy, the younger brother was never seen again. Like you see quite a fair bit of him in the first two acts, and then the third act you see like he's not in until like the end of the movie, right? So I feel like they didn't get a good job like intertwining the stories and like explaining that. They tried way too hard to make it too complex.
It feels like, again, I think that this is made for a mini series or even just a full season of a TV show, and maybe every season could be their own a different city's resistance.
Yeah.
But I find the problem was character development. You didn't get to know any character one on one, and you get thrown into these characters, and they all have these complex stories, but you
can't really care for the characters as well.
Yeah. You're like, wait a minute, who was that?
Mm-hmm.
I like one of the members of the assassination team is a female who is a mechanic, and the first time she appears in the movie is when she gets called. But I don't know her name. I don't think her name is even mentioned in the movie. I have to look through the credits.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find it initially, and just on a first look. But But her role is like, why is she doing what she's doing? What's the purpose of it? So I just look at the character development and be like, I don't feel for any of you characters.
Yeah, even the main characters, like the two brothers, right? They get introduced so late, and I didn't even know that they were major characters. I was actually having trouble, like, which one's the real main character, right?
Well, John Goodman's the main character in the movie, and his character is probably the most developed. But like even his character, so he's working for the aliens, and pretty much his task force is like the Gestapo in a lot of ways, because what they do is it's like almost like Big Brother from 1984. Like they're in a room, they're watching like people in their beds in their houses, and you're like, is he okay with what he's doing? Like,
yeah.
Like, we don't really get a sense in how he feels in all of this. Like, he's been working for these aliens for 9 years, doing God knows what and how many evil things. And granted, he kills himself in the end, but is that enough? And why did it take 9 years for that? There's just a lot missing, I think, in this movie.
Yeah.
Another thing is, because of the way the humans capitulated so easily, I have a hard time with the humans winning. Yeah. Like, to me, this resistance, this cell, was an anomaly, because John Goodman's character was playing the long game, right? He was playing a 9-year game
Yeah.
where he manipulated the situation, got all of his friends from the days before the invasion and put them all into different positions to work in this cell with him. It was kind of an anomaly. I don't understand how humans who have pretty much capitulated to these aliens for 9 years, who now work as slaves, and they're getting sent off world, and you have all of these other aliens coming to Earth, how they can beat these technologically advanced aliens.
Yeah. Plus, we saw like at the beginning of the movie that it can just one shot humans and like pretty much vaporize them. So I don't know what they're gonna do against that, right?
That's what I'm saying. It worked for this Chicago incident, but I don't know how it would work long term. Which again is why I think it's a better TV show, because if after the Chicago thing finishes, you can do the Kansas City one in the next season and have what was going on there then and there, right? And connect it all together. So yeah, I think there's a lot of problems with this movie.
Yeah, clearly.
So the question is, what would you have done differently? What would you have done? Because I think you agree with me. The concept of this movie is very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. And try to focus on like one character and have the other characters as a side character, because it felt too much of focusing on other characters that didn't really matter. Like the younger brother, we had a lot of focus on him, but what was his role in the entire movie? It was pretty much nothing, right?
He literally, if he wasn't in the movie would have gone along just the same.
Yeah,
because they could have gotten basically his role in this movie was to give the message to the resistance, but they could have gotten any character to do that.
Yeah.
He doesn't make amends with his brother. There's no purpose for it.
Yeah, right? So try to focus on John Goodman's character and have him try to show him because they tried to make it to a little twist. Okay, cool, but show him as trying to dodge the aliens and like what he's doing behind the scenes to set it up.
I feel that what I would have done differently. Again, I stressed the TV show, but if you can't make it into a TV show, yes, focus your story on one character. Maybe that would be something I would do. I'd also think one of the problems this movie did, it made too many sacrifices to the plot. So one thing I would do is I would more focus on one kind of story aspect to it and build on that. You know, one thing, one of the continuous lines throughout that movie was, don't trust a Greek giving gifts.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't trust a Greek bearing gifts.
Oh, bearing gifts, right? And the idea is the Trojan horse, right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, but do you get that quote? Did you understand what that meant to the movie?
Yeah. Well, I get at the end of the movie, kind of do. Because the gifts are that he's capturing all the resistance, and then he goes down, and then he blows himself up.
But how would he know I guess the humans are the Greeks? Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the premise?
Yeah, like you said, it's interesting. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw the premise, I was like, oh, okay, this might be good. And then as soon as it cut to the brother, I lost interest. I feel bad. I'm just like, what was his purpose or anything like that? And
I thought the first scene when they were capitulating to the aliens, I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah,
like I think the just the story, the first, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, it's a 10 out of 10 for concept.
Yeah,
not for execution, but just the concept of what they were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
It just failed on every level.
Yeah.
So here's another question I have for you. What do you think the theme or the point of the story is? Or maybe the question is, what does this movie want to be?
In all honesty, I would not be able to tell you. I couldn't. The way the message, I think it's trying to. Honestly, I was lost at it. What do you feel the movie's trying to be?
I don't know either. And you know, initially I thought maybe it was a representative of the political climate in the U.S., like a Trump kind of aspect, like neo-Nazi or like fascism and Nazism from World War II and that kind of aspect. and like this kind of dictatorship government where people live as slaves, right? We hear that the gap between the rich and the poor has never been bigger.
Yeah.
Which doesn't, I don't understand
They added that, and then I didn't really.
I don't understand what that had to do with it. And again, this goes to my point about I think they made a lot of sacrifices to the plot. They don't have a theme with it, and I think that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And did you find this movie entertaining?
That's a good. You were in the theater with me. Did I find it entertaining?
Well, you fell asleep like 5 times in the movie. I heard it snoring. But that's the problem, right? You have this sci-fi movie, and it's a snooze fest.
Yeah.
And that's a major problem. Mm-hmm. Like you're not supposed to do that when you have concepts like this. So I just have one more question because like there's not a lot of talk about in this movie. It's just not good. What do you think the aliens in this movie were after?
That's a good thing. That was one of the things with the premise. Like when I first heard the first 10 minutes, I was really interested. I'm like, what do they want? Like what are they doing down there? That's what I really wanted to know. Like when I had that movie, I kind of realized probably when the first after that we would not see what the aliens wanted or anything like that. It didn't look like that was gonna happen.
Well, initially, what they made it seem like in the movie is they were after the natural resources of Earth. Mm-hmm. But to which I don't understand. Why don't they just go to another planet? Like every planet has natural resources. Like why Earth?
Maybe because we were rich in natural resources, but jokes on them. We depleted most of our natural resources.
I don't know.
So
I was overall very disappointed. Do you have any questions for me? Do you have anything you wanted to know? Anything the audience should be aware of in this movie?
Not really. I was just gonna add that the aliens, with the fact that they put major like devices in every major city, I felt like the natural resources probably would have been depleted within like a year, not even like 9 years. I feel like the Earth would have probably been done.
Well, even
depending on what they were after, though.
But even about that, like the cities that they chose, like Chicago and Kansas City and New York, they're not like rampant with natural resources.
Yeah,
like natural resources would be like in the Yukon and Northwest Territories and in a lot of Russia, right, where the mines are. Like, what resources are they looking for? Like, when you think of like Sudbury would be somewhere like nickel, like what are they after?
Sudbury, the out west, right?
Like oil. Like I don't understand. Like what kind of resources do you get in Chicago?
I have no idea.
So yeah, I don't. I think that's another negative on this movie.
Yeah, now that I think when you ask me what would I change, I probably would have made like figure out what the aliens wanted, what they're after, right? Explain a little bit some of that, right?
But again, if you had more time, like a TV series.
Yeah. Plus, I wanted to know where they sent them.
Yeah, right? A lot of the humans get sent off-world, but where are they going? See, do you know what I thought? Like, I if it wasn't for the gap between the rich and poor, that one little line in the movie, I thought the aliens were actually saving the humans. I thought that would have been a better twist.
Oh, that would
like
have
they
been
were
great.
Going off world to like a utopia, because when the commissioner, the original commissioner of Chicago is talking to John Goodman, he says, I want to get you on the boat to get off this rock when they leave. Mm-hmm. I thought maybe they were just preparing humans for a better world.
That would have been a nice twist.
That would have been such an interesting twist.
But no, this movie failed on every level.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about this movie?
Nah, I'm done with this.
So what would you give this movie out of 10? What's your rating?
Just do not watch again. 2 out of 10.
Ooh, you're giving it a 2.
Yeah.
See,
this is almost as bad as Replicas. That movie was so bad.
I was torn by my rating because, I think I might be a little bit hard on this movie because I like the concept. I'm gonna go 4 out of 10. Because the concept is there. If they ever said like I want to turn this into a TV show, I'd watch it right away. Like I wouldn't even think about it. I would give this at least a 3-episode chance before I would stop turning it off. So the fact that the concept is interesting, I will give it a little bit more cadence or but I still would recommend no one watch this movie. I'm probably being very generous with that rating of a 4.
Yeah, you're super nice.
Maybe.
Look at you. You're the giver.
The
giver of Ratings.
Well, we'll see if that holds true moving forward. Okay, so let's move on to our next movie. Our next movie we're going to talk about is 5 Feet Apart. So, Xavier, what are your opening thoughts on 5 Feet Apart?
Well, when I first heard of 5 Feet Apart, the first thing that kept coming into my head is how much I wish I was 6 feet under watching the movie.
Oh, that's good. I like that. That's funny.
Why, thank you. But yeah, this movie, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of into it at the beginning. I was like, oh, this is interesting. But then it just got way too long for a romance. And I'm like, what is going on here? This couple scenes too long, and then it just got really lame, like unbelievable for me. So we'll get to the part where I was like, okay,
Were you tapped out?
Yeah, we all know it.
For my opening thoughts, I'm going to say that I'm not actually sure what this movie was trying to do. You know, I don't know if it was trying to replicate The Fault in Our Stars or A Walk to Remember, because I saw a little bit of both of those movies in this movie. Either way, there are too many stylistical choices that this movie did or used that made it impossible to do. And for me, it all starts with the premise. The premise is all wrong to make this movie work. You have a sick, dying girl who meets a sick, dying boy, or a sicker, dying boy. There is no real hope for this to work to begin with. When you're watching this movie, you're not like hoping that by some miracle this person can live. You're like, okay, this romance will never work. And moreover than that, the sick dying boy and the sicker dying girl, sick dying girl and sicker dying boy, they can't even come close to each other. So you're not like, oh, they got together that one time. Like it's great.
They can't even kiss or hug.
So the idea is one can't live on bettering themselves. And that's kind of like the story aspect of the two movies I brought up, right? In A Walk to Remember, the sick girl meets the troubled boy, and the troubled boy turns his life around. In Fault in Our Stars, the sick girl meets the sick boy, boy dies, but the sick girl lives on in that memory, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't have this one person that lives on and being like, I'm gonna take this relationship and learn a life lesson from it. So like that premise is all wrong. And also, you know, in those in those movies, it's the sick one that imparts the message to the dying one. In this movie, it's the opposite, right? It's the one who survives that imparts a message to the person who dies. Which doesn't make any sense. Because you can't take that moving forward. That makes sense? Did I explain that all right? Or should I re-explain that?
You should, I think you should re-explain it a little bit.
So, in the movie, Fault in Our Stars and A Walk to Remember, it's the sick person that imparts wisdom to the person who is going to live on. Mm-hmm. So it's Mandy Moore who turns the gentleman's life around. It's Ansel, whatever his name
is. Igor Hoyt or whatever.
Whatever, who imparts wisdom to Shailene Woodley to let her want to live, right? To want to live for the moment, right? Help her out to live her dreams. In this movie, it's the person who's going to live a little bit longer that imparts wisdom to the person who's going to die.
Okay.
Which what for what purpose?
For me, I saw that they both taught each other something. Like they both changed each other's world a little bit, based on their interactions. One taught one to live a little bit more in the now, and the other one taught the other one to care about living more.
See, I don't agree. I don't think that Will taught Stella that. I think Stella always had that. I think it's just
the will to didn't look like it. He seemed all.
You know what the first line in the movie was, or the first scene in the movie was? It's Stella talking to her friends about their friend's trip to somewhere warm.
Yeah.
And you know who planned that trip?
Yeah, she planned it, but she couldn't go.
But she couldn't go. But she planned it because she wanted to live. She wanted to go out and see the world. So clearly she is trying to live. It's the sickness that's causing her not to live.
Yeah, but she also has.
That's all I'm saying. Like on her list of things she wants to do, she wants to go to Paris. She wants to travel to the Vatican, right? She wants to travel. She has that on her list. It's not like she's like, I don't want to live. She also wants to live for her parents.
Yeah.
So I don't see that he taught her anything.
Yeah, but wasn't it because? Well, we'll get into that.
Anyways, the last little bit of opening thoughts. I thought it was too long of a movie. It was 2 hours. It's 45 minutes too long. This movie needed to be an hour and 10 minutes tops. I did, though, really like learning about the characters. I thought the characters were interesting. But this movie is forced. And it makes the ultimate mistake movies make. It changes a character midway through the movie, and this is kind of what Xavier was alluding to in our little conversation. You have this really smart girl who changes in the middle of the movie, and now apparently she never wanted to live, which I don't agree. I don't see it that way, because I think for the first 2/3 of the movie she does want to live, and then the last third of the movie she gets manipulated by this guy to think like, oh, I'm not living. She's like, well, it doesn't make any sense. And the second thing, it's rushed. Everything gets pushed to the end of the movie, and as a result, everything in this movie fails, and you just get laughing down at the climax of the movie.
That is very true.
All right, so you want to talk about this movie?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, so at the beginning of this movie, we meet Stella. And Stella she is suffering from cystic fibrosis, CF. And she is back in the hospital for what she calls a tune-up. Mm-hmm. But it's not really a tune-up. It's actually much more severe. Yeah. And she documents everything that she does on YouTube to this channel. She has this really positive outlook on life. She calls herself clinically OCD, and we see that throughout the movie. She's bossy. She has a certain way she wants everything.
She sets up her med card a certain way.
She is... very intelligent. She writes her own app. She knows her regiment on how she takes her pills. Mm-hmm. She calls herself she's been a doctor for the last 10 years because she's taught to be one. She puts things in order. She's a control freak. When she's walking through the hospital, she's clearly well liked. She knows people. She's very polite to everyone she meets.
The nurses give her free reign in the hospital.
Yeah, because she's responsible and everything like that. So, my question is, at first glance, what were your thoughts on Stella?
Yeah, interesting character. I didn't hate her. I was like, okay. I didn't tap out yet. I was like, okay. I felt sorry for her at the time because of her disease, and it didn't allow her to go out with her friends, because like you said, she planned that trip, and then I felt bad for her because you plan a trip and you're sick and you can't go. I'd be triggered.
In that first 10 minutes before we meet Will... do you think, is there any indication Stella does not want to live?
That's a good question.
Because to me, it's the exact opposite. Everything she's doing is to fight to live. In fact, when she actually does meet Will for the first time, she says, I need to live. I'm here to live. I'm upset. I can't be normal and be myself unless you take this seriously and you want to live. Her OCD, her
not the fact that she didn't want to live. Maybe she was scared to take risks. That's probably more what...
But what risks? See, this is the problem. So I'll answer that question by explaining what I mean by this. So the next scene in this movie is Stella meets Will. And Will also has CF. But Will has developed a bacteria, which means he can never have a transplant. And the idea of people with CF is, if Xavier had CF and I didn't, we could hang out no problem. But if both of us had CF, we're more likely to be contagious to each other and give ourselves that bacteria, which means we'll never get lung transplants.
We have to be 6 feet apart.
CF people shouldn't be around each other. Now, Will, we know right away, he is the kind of person that has given up on everything. Even though he has this rich mom who has got him into this drug trial that could be promising, he doesn't care. He doesn't do his regimen. He gets force-fed his pills. He doesn't do all the little other activities you can do to help yourself out. Mm-hmm. He goes to the roof and kind of almost like he's going to fall off it kind of thing. Like we get these ideas. And on the roof, Stella finds him. She becomes obsessed with him. Like, what do you mean you're not doing your regiment? I can't have a peace of mind unless you do your regiment. So she basically takes care of him. And this is where I want to kind of go with this. You're saying she doesn't want to take risks. The risk she should take is to be with Will, who can get her sick and cost her lung transplants.
No, not. I wouldn't say that aspect. It's just more.
But what risk?
I see what they're
take?
trying. This is what the movie was trying to do. They're trying to make Will like the. Oh, I'm the bad boy. I don't care. I'm the. What is life? I'm gonna live it on the edge. He's kind of like their edgelord.
Yeah.
Character.
But think of the risks that Will take. He doesn't take his medication. Is that a risk that she should take?
No, I'm not saying she should take it.
He wants to go around and be around Stella. Is that a risk she should take? What risk does she not take in this movie that she should be taking? Like, this is what I don't understand.
I'm not saying she should take the risk. I'm just saying that's what he taught her to do. I'm not saying that it should happen, and I'm not saying it's a good thing that it was taught.
Because Stella does take some risks in this movie that we're to get into.
Yeah.
Or do you think those are smart risks she takes?
No, I'm not.
That's what I'm saying. She doesn't. But you keep. That's why he teaches her nothing of value.
I guess it's not. You could say it's not value, but it's still. That's what they're going for in the movie. I'm not saying it was a good point because I'm not saying this is a good movie. Clearly, I'm just saying that's what he taught her because it's not. What's the word I'm saying for it? It wasn't viable what he taught her.
No, not at all. And in fact, anyway, we'll talk about it. So, what are your thoughts on Will?
I'm not gonna lie, I was interested to see what his why he was the way he is, and see how they would fall for each other. Because y'all know this is a romance movie, but you'll see. I'll tell you what happens. You'll get a better idea of how I feel at the end.
I like the character Will, but again, this goes to my premise problem, is that it almost would have been better if he had something that could have been cured. Like if he was sick with cancer and like a kind of cancer that's not necessarily curable, where the wisdom that Stella could impart on him could have been more helpful, if that makes sense. But the fact that he has a death wish and it's just a matter of time before he dies, he could drop at any time. It just, to me, it's like I don't feel for him. Well, I do feel for him, but I don't feel for him like you just gave up.
Yeah.
Like there are probably, I don't know how many people have CF, but I bet you there are dozens or hundreds of people that would love to be on the trial that Will was on. And to give up when someone else could have that spot.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Like someone else, like not every CF. Like we get this idea, like the people, one of the side characters in this movie, Poe. One of his biggest fears of CF is that after he turns 18, the government stops paying for his care because in the U.S., they don't cover all your health care. So it's whoever his mom or his boyfriend, whoever it is, will have to spend all their money to take care of it. And Will has that. You know how many people would die for that opportunity, just that chance to live?
Yeah.
That chance to get an extra work. It's just I don't have as much pathos for him as I do because I know of other people who are suffering that would want that chance to live. I don't know if that makes that much sense to you.
No, it doesn't. No, it does. I'm just joking.
Anyway, so we also find out about Stella that her older sister, who is probably the most important person in her life, had died a year earlier.
Yes.
In a diving accident, and as a result, her parents ended up splitting up, and that is a very kind of important
aspect of the movie
and of her, right? So one of the main reasons she now wants to live is for her parents, because she doesn't want her parents to lose a second daughter.
Yeah, because the entire time they were planning for Stella's death, because they didn't know when she was going to pass away, but she ended up kept living, and then in return the other daughter died.
And
Kind of
again,
like huge irony over there.
it is, but it's also the idea of this risk taking that Will talks about. Not necessarily the best thing in the world, because risk taking could lead to death.
Hey, but you only live once, YOLO. That's what Drake said.
Yeah, good.
And
for
I live
Drake.
my life by Drake.
Yeah.
He's a mentor.
So she needs to have a surgery, and that's very dangerous for someone with CF because they have to be put under, and some CF is your lungs, and it's not safe. So Will, who's kind of befriended her, takes a picture that the sister Abby had drawn and puts it above her her bed, for her surgery bed. So the last thing she sees before she goes out is that picture, and she also sings the song that Abby sings to her that he saw on the YouTube channel. I like this. You don't like this?
It was lame.
Why is that lame? That's romantic. That is romantic.
Cringe as hell.
How is that cringe? Explain that to me.
Because first of all, he kind of like, he creeped her page for like super long, found that song. You didn't think it was creepy that he watched all her videos in one night?
I think it's more than one night. I think it was over a couple of nights.
Well, they said they knew each other for a month, so it's probably maybe 2 nights max.
No, I would say it's like a week. And even still, what else are you gonna do in the hospital?
Not watch videos of another girl. There's so many.
She put her on YouTube. If you put her on YouTube, you should be watched.
Yeah, if you want to watch
I have a question for you. If you find a channel on YouTube that you like and you watch a video, would you not watch the other videos?
Yeah, not if somebody that I'm have a crush on though. That's weird. I'd feel like a creep. Okay. But anyway, so he does that, and then he sings that little song. Like, I'd just be creeped out. Okay. That's just me. Maybe the dating culture is messed up at my time.
Maybe. So after surgery, Stella wakes up, and she, like, calls Will, and she's now obsessed with Will. Says, you're cute, I love you. Not I love you, but pretty much, like, I love you. Like, that's what we're getting here.
Yeah.
And they both are in love, and she says that they can be together as long as they stay 5 feet apart.
Well, she made a YouTube video about saying...
Oh, my God.
And
this is where... to me, the movie just falls apart because you've now changed her character. So they go on their first date. Xavier, will you tell me where you tapped out on this first date?
Okay, so this is when I was like, yeah, this movie sucks. So one of the parts is, so they always staying 5 feet apart. So they have this
pool cue, which is 5 feet.
Which is 5 feet. And they hold it while they're walking together to always remind themselves that they're 5 feet apart.
By the way, can I just say, I play a lot of pool, and I'm 5'5", and a pool cue is not 5 feet. Just saying. Just we're going to throw that out there. A pool cue is not 5 feet. For the record. Maybe 3. Maybe.
That's hilarious. So they're sitting at a pool, and... they are sitting with the pool cue 5 feet apart, and then they're talking about, stuff, and then it gets a little hot and heavy. And Will's like, God, I wish I could touch you. And then Stella grabs the pool cube and starts rubbing her shoulder with it, and then it slowly goes down to her breast, and she just starts having the cube touch her there. And... I was like, yeah, I'm done with this movie. This is like, that's the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
I don't know if it's creepy, but it's definitely not.
That is 100% cringe. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's creepy.
That was not creepy. If you're on a date and a girl does that at the pool table, not like at a pool table, what would you think?
Yeah, but
Would you run away?
No, but it's just crazy. It's like, who are you? Like that. I'm sorry. That's just weird.
Yeah, even if you've never had, she's have to had some type of human touch before.
Right?
Of
course she has, because she can touch any human that doesn't have CF.
So she has to know that's not attractive at all.
He finds it attractive, clearly.
Well, yeah, because he's a freaking weirdo. He watched all her videos. We already established this.
Okay, so you agree this scene goes too far?
Yeah.
This entire first date goes too far.
Yeah, it was way too long. Plus, they ended up swimming together, and the day wasn't even over after that.
And even the swimming together. Like, I feel like in a pool, like, swimming together, like...
That's even worse. That's a way easier way to, like, to
Because they're
cross
splashing
contaminate
each other. Like, I don't know.
I thought nothing happened there, right? And then even after that, they go for a walk and they're still talking. Like, that date was way too long.
So the second date, not necessarily as crazy or as weird or cringe. It happens to be on Will's birthday. So Stella sends Will on a scavenger hunt, with the end being in the closed cafeteria, where Stella is there with her friends and some of Will's friends that she had called as well. Poe is there cooking dinner, and they eat, they laugh, they take a picture together. Yeah. Again, not 5 feet apart for sure.
Yeah. I actually enjoyed that scene. It was a nice little scene of just seeing them happy. Because I know when you see a scene like that where everyone's really happy, something tragic's about to happen.
Absolutely. So you don't think the scene was too much?
For me, I actually enjoyed it. It wasn't like... I feel like the scavenger hunt, seeing every single piece... The scavenger hunt, if they shaved a little bit off that, I would have been okay with that little food scene.
So you would have cut the first date and kept this date?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. This is good seeing people talk in their people are being natural in this. There's no forced conversation, there's no cringe-worthy touching themselves with their pool cue, swimming in like, I just don't understand how like they were able to get into the pool room.
Yeah.
Like not the pool table, like an actual swimming pool. Like how they were able to get in there. Like, and what hospitals have swimming pools?
Yeah, I don't know. That's another good question.
I really didn't like that first date, but the second date I did like. But at the end of the date, the nurse walks in, and the nurse does not want these 3 CF patients, because Poe also has CF, hanging out in the same room.
Yeah.
It's dangerous. Worth the risk, Xavier?
Well, not for one.
Not for any of them. It's not worth the risk.
Well,
in a closed room, like the room is like 5 feet.
Well, considering the fact, we'll see what happens after that.
Like think of like a dinner table, like how this table.
It was this big, wasn't it?
I know they're more than. It's like a 5. Like each of them were 5 feet from each other. It makes no sense.
Yeah, they never. I don't think they're really 5 feet apart. A lot of most
ever
of the time.
Ever like they were like never 5 feet apart. Anyways, the nurse comes in. She breaks them up, sends them all to their room. They're quarantined, and at this moment, the movie
night, by the way,
falls off the rail. So
remember, so 12 a.m. was she sent him the message to go scavenger hunting.
Yeah, so it's probably 2 a.m. at this point.
2 a.m. at this point.
So the third act, just a disaster, a nightmare, a tragedy, whatever you want to say. So Poe dies, like 20 minutes later.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out, did he die because he was so close to them?
I don't think so. I think it's just something that CF can kill you at any point. I think that shows you the danger of it. So Stella, after seeing Poe dead, loses it. She trashes her room and she's like, I'm leaving the hospital. So she grabs her jacket, her hat, her scarf, and she just takes off. Will, who had turned 18 that day, he decides he's going to leave too, on his own. So he's sitting in the lobby when Stella kind of sees him. And Stella's like, why don't you come with me? After she kicks him out of her room earlier on.
She's like, we can't touch each other. We're going to kill each other.
So the two of them, they're going to go see some lights somewhere in the distance. Some Christmas lights, apparently. While this is all going on, while they're walking and talking and doing their quote-unquote romance thing, there's this accident that happens, and someone died. So Stella's about to get some new lungs. However, Stella's gone.
Yeah, she left.
And so they're trying to get a hold of Stella. So Stella's got her phone on her, obviously, and she's ignoring the phone calls. Because that's what someone who wants to live does. Go get new lungs. So the two of them are playing on a frozen steam. So it's just an ice stream. And Stella just avoids these text messages, avoids the phone calls. I don't need new lungs. Because what Will taught her is I need to live. So she's going to go see the lights instead of get new lungs. I mean, Will eventually gets a message from his mom, saying that, do you know where Stella is? She's supposed to get new lungs. And he basically confronts Stella and says, why are you doing here? Let's go get you new lungs. And she's like, nope, I don't want them.
I want to see the light.
Because that's what people who want to live do. She ends up falling into the ice. Will ends up saving her, and she's kind of been underwater for a bit, and she's got CF, so she can't hold her breath for very long.
So he gives her mouth to mouth.
He gives her mouth to mouth. And she wakes up.
And he gets sick from it and almost dies.
And so does she. So they get to the hospital, and she's about to get new lungs. But she's like, I don't want the new lungs. And Will's like, guys, quiet down. I need to talk to Stella. Stella, you need to take these lungs. I want to be with you. We can't be together. Take the lungs. Fine, I'll take the lungs. That's about how that went, right?
Yeah, that was really dumb.
The best part during this climax scene in the movie is that the audience is laughing. Like, this is supposed to be this dramatic sequence, and the audience in the theater is howling, including you.
Yeah.
I was laughing. I wasn't being as loud, but like the Giovanna and her friend beside me were like, guys, people are laughing. Quiet down. I'm like, Giovanna, it's hilarious. Like, I would be laughing too. This is like The Room bad.
Yeah. This is
So the procedure is successful, and somehow, by some miracle, Will breathing into her lungs did not cause any damage, which I'm okay with from a movie perspective.
Yeah, it's okay.
And then, while she's in a coma, Will brings those lights to Stella. And then he calls her from the outside and says he loves her and goodbye. Now, did I get all this right? Did I get the third act correct? All right, there's a lot to unpack for this third act. So I'm going to ask you with this question. Do you have any general thoughts on the third act?
Yeah, no thank you.
That's it? That's all you got to say? Okay. So, to me, I find it's ridiculous and baffling when they change smart characters. We have a character who's pretty much like a doctor, okay? Mm-hmm. She's smart. So why did Stella go from a clinically OCD rule follower to breaking every rule?
Because that's what Will taught her, to be an idiot.
That's it? That's what you got for me? That's the best thing you can do?
Wait, I didn't write the movie. That's just what I can... That's the main reason why I thought of it. And maybe because she just saw her best friend die, so she was not able to think rationally.
I'm sorry, but like you don't go from being the smartest person in the room to being this person who needs to control everything to not wanting lungs. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You can see how they rewrote this character to make it to fit the plot they were trying to go for.
Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the hospital staff?
The hospital staff, like, keeping them
Barb
apart?
and everyone else.
I didn't even pay much attention to them, to be honest. I liked them. I understood why the one lady didn't want them to be together, because she didn't want people to die on her watch.
See, I like Barb. This is Barb we're talking about. I like her a lot. But you can explain to me how people sneak out of their rooms?
Well, she wasn't on her... She wasn't working that night.
I'm talking about the hospital staff in general. I'm not talking about Barb. That's why I said the hospital staff. Not what are your thoughts on Barb? Okay. Because, think about it. Will broke into a pre-surgery room that's supposed to be scrubbed down for any bacteria, and he sneaks into that room.
And sings.
The cafe, or the cafeteria, sorry. Not a cafe, that's a French thing. But the cafeteria, they break into at night. The pool, they break into at night. Where is the staff in the hospital? She walked out of the building. The two people walk out of the building.
Well, maybe they're like...
How horribly portrayed are they?
Maybe they're like Batman, where they have the entire security's rounds memorized. So they just, They find the holes and go do it, like Nightwing and Batman and Robin.
This is Xavier. That's as
You
bad
know
as the third act is. Can you give me at least a somewhat decent answer?
That's my answer. That's the answer I have to give, right?
Yeah.
I have to work with what the movie gives me, man.
It makes no sense, and again, you're changing the characters to make the movie you want to make. That's what they did. They changed the main character Stella, and they changed the hospital staff to make them idiotic, to make it work. So where does this movie go wrong for you?
There's a lot of things that went wrong. I didn't think the love was realistic. I don't think those characters would probably fall for each other based on their personalities. It doesn't look like they'd be interested into one another. It was super cringe.
See, I think this movie's problem was the love story in general. I don't think this. I know that they were trying to make a love story, but I don't think a love story worked in this movie.
Yeah, me either.
Or at least the last 30 minutes needed to be fixed. That was a train wreck. That was like, I'm trying to think about, that was Batman versus Superman bad. That third act. So I have a question though. Can you fix this movie? Is there a way to fix it?
Yeah, make one of the characters not die. Have some hope, because we both know everybody's gonna die at the end, because it lets us know that the lungs only last 5 years after a transplant. So Stella's dying, Will's dying, so they would never be together anyways. Technically, they probably should have just kissed if they're both gonna die anyways.
So I guess the last real question I have for you is, can you have an ending to this movie that makes the audience happy?
Well, it's a drama. You're not supposed to be happy. You're supposed to feel.
No, I don't mean like happy, but like content, like to walk away with like that was a good ending. Like, for example, The Notebook, it was a sad ending, but were you happy with the ending?
Yeah, I love that ending.
That's my point, right?
That's the greatest love story ever told.
Could they have made Could they have made this movie end to keep the audience happy with it?
Probably not. I don't know. It's I just sucks. I'm sorry.
I think her death might have made it satisfying.
Her death? Yeah, I could see, but that's a cliche. Like, walk
and
to
I think, yeah,
all the others movies.
That's true. I think that's what they're making though. Yeah. I think that she needed to love a healthy young boy, and I think she needed or like again maybe have him have cancer and not. I know the premise would have been completely different because they wouldn't have needed to be 5 feet apart. But
yeah, you have to change the title.
I know. Also, not showing Will at at all would probably help this movie.
Not showing Will.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So is this an emotional movie though? Because I can't get over the fact that our theater was just laughing, like howling at the dramatic points. So is this you were laughing? Is this an actual emotional movie?
No, not for me. Like, they tried to make it emotional, but just the circumstances didn't seem very realistic to me, so I was just not.
I don't think it is at all.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's room bad. Like, that's what if you're going to watch this movie, expect to get the room out of it. Which I find interesting. This movie has like a 91% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Hey, maybe it's so bad it's funny.
That's what I'm thinking. That's why I'm calling it room bad. Is there anything you liked about this movie?
Oh, yes. I really, really, really liked the choice of music in this movie. It was really good. Nice indie songs. If it wasn't for the music, I probably would have fully tapped out. But the songs I heard, a lot of it's on my iPod now. So thank you, 5 Feet Apart. Everything else, though, no thank you.
You wouldn't give... Mine is Haley Lou Richardson. I thought she was phenomenal. Like, I'm not blaming her for the shitty writing.
That's
like
true.
It's not her fault. Like the writing was horrible. The third act changed her character. She played that role to a T. I think she's going to be a big name actress in Hollywood. I was on board with her from the very first moment I saw her to the very last scene. Just because the writing's bad doesn't mean she acted the hell out of that.
For me, I didn't. Once I tap out of the movie, I stopped paying attention to some of the performances. So that's kind of what happened to me. I'd have to rewatch and see, but I'm not gonna lie. From when I was into it, I liked her character and I liked how she acted as her.
Okay. All right. Final thing. What would you? Or do you have any questions you want to talk about? Anything you want to bring up?
No,
All right. So, what would you rate this movie? What do you give this movie out of 10?
I'm gonna give it a 5 because of the music.
That's a 5?
Yeah, the music was really good.
Okay.
Just for the music. If it wasn't for the music, this is probably another 3 or 2. 5 gave 2 points.
I'm going to say this. It was, after the second act, I would have given it a 7.5 out of 10. That's what I would have given out of 10 after Act 2. I was engaged. It was good. Even the pool scene, as cringy as it was still going in a decent direction. Mm-hmm. But that train wreck of a last act dropped it to a 4 for me. And Haley Lou Richardson is a big part. I like the music too, but Haley Lou Richardson is the reason I am giving this a 4 out of 10.
Wow, you got so mad at me and you only one point.
You just said one good thing. You just said the music. I went to an actor.
Yeah, but I said the music was amazing. That's an aspect of a movie. It's a big aspect of a movie. Okay, fine. Sometimes.
Fair enough. All right. So those are our thoughts on 5 Feet Apart. So let's talk about The Sandlot. I'm so excited to go to the vault to talk about The Sandlot. All right, Xavier. Tell us your opening thoughts on The Sandlot. Give us... Tell us how much you loved it.
Love is a very strong word. That's not the word I'd use for it.
Like you really loved it?
No. It's okay. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Excuse me? You're talking about Did you watch the movie?
I watched the movie.
Were you playing a video game while you watched the movie?
Big Bambino. I lied to pretend like I knew who the Big Bambino was, and then I took my dad's ball that was signed by Babe Ruth and threw it over the... Well, didn't play it, but he hit it over the fence, and then I tried to get it back from the beast. The beast who ate a kid. And bad people. And robbers and stuff. I watched the movie, but it was good. I mean, as a kid, I probably would have enjoyed it more, but as an adult, not so much. So I'll give it 2 scores when we're finished. As a kid or as an adult.
My score is going to be the same both ways. You know what? I got to be honest. This my opening thoughts were rewatching this movie. It was a classic. It's a movie that deals with things that we can relate to. It deals with our childhood. It deals with our innocence. It deals with friendship. It deals with just camaraderie. It deals with sports. It deals with this idea of self-worth in a lot of ways. Because our main character, Scotty, he never had any friends. Like, you hear his mom tell him, go cause some trouble. Like, go do something. So you have all of these things. It's just, it's the themes in this movie, like any great kids movie, they are just as important today as they are to an adult as they are to a children, because the messages are not valid, are still valid. And to me, this movie is very reminiscent of The Goonies, which we've gone to the vault for before on this podcast, and Simon Birch. And just the way the narration is told. So I was a really big fan of it. Big fan. But let's get into this. Let's dive deep into this movie. So the movie begins in kind of the present of the time, and the narrator tells us a story of this kid moving to a new town, or himself moving to a new town. And today he's in baseball. What were your did you like the use of a narrator?
It's kind of reminded me how it was an old movie. That's one of the first things I'm like, oh, this is like a Christmas story. Depends on the narrator's voice and how well. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like the narrator's voice. It wasn't for me, but it worked for.
You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me, Smalls.
It worked for the story, for what they wanted to get across.
All right. Anyway, so the narrator introduces us to our young Scotty Smalls. And he arrives in town 2 weeks before the school year ends. He's from out of state. He has no friends. His dad has died, and he has a new stepdad, Bill. But he's not
scared.
really.
He doesn't know how to get along with him.
It looks that way, doesn't he? And he can't play catch. And the scene where he's trying to throw the ball, I'm not gonna lie, it is one of the funniest scenes I can think of. Like, he can't catch at all, and then when he tries to throw the ball, he can't throw it at all. So he runs the ball up to his stepdad here, and he puts it in his glove. And the stepdads look at him as he's doing it, is like, who the hell are you? Like, what is that?
Yeah,
It's priceless. No, you don't find that priceless?
I'm sorry, but I was a kid. I've never seen a kid not able to throw a ball.
I can definitely tell you that is 100. Like, just because I could throw a ball, I can tell you there are people who can't throw balls. Just because you could throw a baseball when you were young, doesn't mean everyone can. It's a learned skill. Some people are not athletic.
That's no way.
100%. It's your throwing point. I coached baseball and young kids and trying to throw the ball. They throw it. It's where they throw it, where they release. If they release it here, it's gonna go right to the ground.
That's true.
Okay, it's hilarious. It's
I guess
great
I'm just
scene.
a natural athlete. Well, you were gonna say something, weren't you? But you forgot you're on a podcast.
Did you play any sports growing up?
I played soccer, I played basketball, and I played didn't play football. I didn't play hockey either.
I'm gonna be the bigger person and avoid this conversation.
Okay.
So he ends up getting hit with a ball from his stepdad, and he ends up getting a black eye. But he makes the catch, so that was funny. So the next day he gets kind of invited by one of the boys that play baseball in the Sandlot, Benny, and Benny gives him a glove. He gives him some advice. He tells him how to throw and how to catch. He's like, just hold your glove up here like this, and the ball will come to you. Just.
I'm not gonna lie, I liked that aspect of the movie. I liked how Scotty idolized Benny. Like, he's like, oh my god. Like, the thing that really warmed my heart was after that day of them hanging out, and he just ran home to talk to his mom. He's like, I made a friend.
I know. Again, that's what the
part.
movie's about. The theme of friendship. That's what this is about.
Yeah, that was a good part.
Oh,
I liked
so
it.
good.
I enjoyed it. I was like, oh, that's so cute.
Such a good thing. So, these boys, they talk about this, the great Bambino, the king of Crash, the titan of terror, the sultan of SWAT. You know who that is, right? Don't you, Scotty? Of course I do. Doesn't say who it is because he has no idea.
Yeah.
He never knew baseball, right? This is a
I
science
thought you
guy.
said the great Bambi.
He's an engineer. This is a guy in school. Like, he's a school kid. He's a nerd. They call him that. You're a nerd. You're a wiener. You're an Oscar Mayer wiener.
That was funny.
He doesn't even know where left field. Go to left center field. He doesn't know where that is.
Where is that?
And that's even funny. Benny he looks at him. He's like, it's right there. And he goes. He's like, no, more to the center.
I thought you meant more to the left.
Exactly. It's so priceless. Gives him advice. He makes the catch, and once he makes that catch, he's in with them. And after he gets in with the group, Benny gives him advice on what to wear. The next day, they lose a ball because Ham hits the home run, and Scotty's gonna go get the ball, and everyone warns him, "Don't." The beast is there, and then that night they go to the sleep out. In the treehouse over the beast's place, and we get the legend of the beast. And you don't like this story. I'm taking it.
No.
See, I like this story because to me, this is what kids do. This is a kid being a kid. They believe these stories and they're afraid of things. You're telling me that you didn't believe like a good old campfire story when you were a kid?
No. I'll tell you why. When I was a kid. This is reporting to Santa Claus. I was about
Oh, I was
6
gonna
years
say,
old.
there's your belief right there.
I was 6 years old and I believed in Santa Claus up until I realized that I lived in an apartment. So I had no idea how Santa Claus was going to go through a chimney to get into my home. So I asked my parents. My parents are like, oh, he just knocks on the door and we let him in. I'm like, oh, okay. I knew that was a lie. I don't know. I was one of those kids that just never believed in Santa Claus, so I made it my life. Once I figured out, and plus I kind of figured out Santa
I
Claus
really
wasn't
hope
real.
kids are not listening to this podcast.
Oh.
You just debunked Santa Claus for for any children listeners here. Just for the record.
My bad. There's no children listeners to this.
Probably not, but you can't be any... What if a parent's listening with kids in the background?
Okay, spoiler alert for kids and Santa Claus. If you have kids, turn the podcast off right now.
Alright, so you didn't believe them. You were a kid who never
I made it
believed
my
anything.
life mission to tell kids that Santa Claus wasn't real. And then my mom would get mad at me because I would leave cookies, and then obviously I knew my dad ate them. Because plus I could hear them setting up the tree and presents, so I'd see them set up presents sometimes. So after that, I didn't really believe those false stories or kids.
I don't know. There were stories that I believed when I was kids. Like your friends would tell you something. I mean, maybe I was a little bit more naive, but I mean, I feel like there were stories that I turned out not to be true, that I totally believed hook, line, and sinker. And all these, it's not like one of the kids are trying to pull a fast one on the other.
Yeah, all the other kids
They believed it. Do you like Home Alone?
Yeah.
Well, there's an exact same sequence in Home Alone. The old man who salted the roads, where all the kids believed that he killed people. And
yeah, but
they
the
actually
difference is
believed it.
when I saw Home Alone, I was a child.
But if you rewatch it now, you're gonna be like, that's stupid.
I probably wouldn't laugh as much and
Oh,
enjoy it as much
come
as
on!
possible.
But it's kids being kids, and that's what makes this movie special. It's kids being kids, and I like this scene. I think it works. They believe it. My favorite scene in the movie, though, is also from this. So they're making s'mores, and then Ham asks Scar, "Did you want some s'mores?" And he says, "How can I have more?
I have nothing.
How can I have some more? Sorry, how can I have some more?" And he's like, "You're killing me, Smalls." So good.
Yeah, it was a pretty good joke.
I love that. Yeah. Anyway, after that, we have the pool sequence. So it's too hot for baseball, so they go to the pool. And Squint goes off the diving board to get some action from the lifeguard. So he pretends that he's, taken in water, and the lifeguard gives him mouth to mouth and the Heimlich. Isn't that a great scene?
Yeah, I think that's my favorite scene. Because he makes out with her, and then she's like, what's going on? But then after that, I don't know what's up with that lifeguard. How old is she?
I imagine a couple years older than
Like
them.
16?
But they get married. They have 9 kids together.
Oh, really?
That was the end sequence where they tell him what happens to them all. Squints marries Wendy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So she liked it, right? Every time she'd always give him the look.
Yeah, see, that's what I was about to say, because after that, she'd give him the look, right? That's hilarious. Good job on Squinty.
Oh, I thought that was just a hilarious scene. So then we get the insult war where they just keep insulting each other.
With those other kids from the new school.
That are actually on a professional team or an actual team, and they play each other, and they absolutely destroy them. I think that's a great scene in the movie. I thought actually that was when I first watched the movie or rethinking about it, I thought that was going to be like the main aspect, the training against that team. But it wasn't.
I thought that too at the first when I had that first watch. So that's funny that you mentioned that too.
And Ham is just hilarious in this scene where he's talking to the batters, he's calling strikes, he's asking if can I go out with your sister? Like, it's brilliant. He's so funny. So after celebrating, they go to the amusement park and they get some chewing tobacco and they go on a ride and they puke it all out.
Yeah, all those disgusting. I hate puke scenes.
They're so funny because it's funny.
Gross. It's disgusting.
Oh, so funny.
There's no puke scene that's good in a movie.
So good. I liked it.
Yeah,
So then we have the
gross.
problem in the movie that arises. So Benny breaks a ball by batting it, which is hilarious. So Scotty says he has a ball that he can get. His stepdad signed Babe Ruth ball. So
He thought it was a girl. He thought a girl signed.
Yeah, that's what he thought because he doesn't know who Babe Ruth is. So he ends up getting to go to hit the ball, and he hits his first ever home run over the wall into the Beast's nest. And he loses it, and his friends are like, "Congratulations, you got your first home run!" And he's like, "No, the ball!" And he's like, the guys are like, "Who cares? It's just a ball." And then they tell him who signs it. It was signed by some guy, and he's like, "It's this girl, Baby Ruth." And the friends all lose it. They're like, "Babe Ruth!" And they all go to climb the fence because they know what the ball is. So then they use the decoy ball to kind of so the mom doesn't get suspicious, and they do all these crazy things to try to get the ball back. They use a vacuum, they use a pot and a pan, they have an airborne attack. They
use this pulley system.
A pulley system. They use the
catapult.
science, the catapult.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think you didn't like that sequence.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it. It wasn't terrible.
It's good. And then Benny has this dream from that Babe Ruth comes to him, and so he's like, "I'm just gonna go over myself." So he goes over. He gets the ball and climbs over, and the dog ends up breaking through, jumping over the fence, and chases them all around town. Now, did you like this sequence?
No.
Why not?
It was boring. It was just, I don't know. It was just so predictable. I knew that was going to happen. Like, he's going to jump the fence, and they're chasing him. And the chasing was just way too long.
But they chased around the entire town. It's so funny.
Not really.
Like the cake scene where the cake, they have this huge cake for the 4th of July.
And then the cake falls. How many times has that been? That's seen in like every movie.
You understand though that this is from 1993. So anything you see after this is just copying this movie.
Yeah, but isn't that? I feel like that's been done before.
You name me a movie before 1993 when it's been done.
I'll have to go look.
You better go look and bring it up next week on the podcast.
Okay.
So he ends up trying to trap him back in his cage. So they go back to the house, and the dog ends up breaking through the fence, and the fence ends up falling on him. And the poor dog, he's hurt. So Scotty and Benny lift it up, and then the dog's all like, "Oh, isn't the dog cute?"
Yeah.
Saint Bernard, I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, it's a massive dog.
It's so cute. And then the owner, they go see the owner of the house who is blind, and it turns out to be James Earl Jones. You don't care. Whatever. Whatever. You're no fun.
Does that upset you?
So he ends up finding out about this ball, and he's like, "You're going to be in so much trouble." And this gentleman ends up giving him a ball signed by the entire 1927 Yankees as a gift. And then, he comes clean to his stepdad, who, grounds him for a week. And then we get the kind of ending sequence of the movie where,
Benny goes on to the MLB.
Yeah, Yaya joins the army and then invents bungee jumping. The twins are multimillionaires. Squint marries Wendy and has the 9 kids. Ham becomes a wrestler. Nunez is a minor league baseball player and then coaches his son's team. And then Benny, of course, makes the Dodgers. And then Scotty is a commentator for the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. So everything works out. So I guess the only question we have about this movie, the only one that matters is, does this movie hold up? And you're going to say no, right?
No.
Why?
For you, you got the nostalgia goggles on, but it just when you watch it, it's just so dated. And a lot of things we've seen, it's just not very funny anymore. Plus it's also a kids movie, so the fact that it's a kids movie, it's only gonna appeal to like kids. I'd show this to my kids because I think it's a great movie for my kids to learn about everything that you talked about, but As an adult, it's not. It's a no, thank you.
You understand that you love kids movies, right? Like we go watch kids movies all the time.
Yeah, but not this one. This isn't for. I feel like I didn't really connect with it.
I think you don't like this movie because you don't like baseball. I think it's not. It has nothing to do with the movie. You can't connect.
Yeah,
because
but
you don't watch the sport.
Yeah, but half of it, it's not all on baseball. They're hanging out at the pool.
Yeah, but it's a baseball movie. It comes down to everything being about baseball. You don't like baseball. If we watch Little Giants, which is the same era, I bet you that you would like that movie because it's football and you like football more.
Oh,
it's a kids movie, same premise, same cheesiness, same concept, but it's about football.
Okay, but we'll see. I don't know. It just wasn't. It's not for me. Plus, I've never seen the movie before, so I don't have the. I never saw the movie before, so I don't have the same biases.
But I think it's because you don't like baseball. I think that's the reason. Like, did you see Rookie of the Year?
No.
What movies did you watch as a childhood? I need to talk to your mom here. Like this is not good.
I watched a lot of Disney movies.
I'm pretty sure Rookie of the Year is a Disney movie.
And Brave Little Toaster.
Oh, I love Brave Little Toaster.
Those movies are great.
So So here's the last question I have, and then we'll be finished for the week. We've talked last week in the news or 2 weeks ago that they were thinking of making a sequel to this movie or a TV series based on all the original characters. Do you think that's possible?
All the characters being older?
Yeah. Do you think that's possible?
Not really. Like, based on what happened with their life, like what would they do to
exactly? We know what happened to their life, right?
Yeah.
Like we've got the Squint having 9 kids. We've got the Yaya bungee jumping, the multimillionaire twins. Like, why are they gonna come back and what are they gonna do? Play with their kids? I mean, Squints could play all 9 of his kids on a team.
That's true. I don't know. Yeah, they already have closure, so it's not like we need to know what happens after that. Some things are better off without a sequel. Just keep the magic alive.
Okay. All right, Xavier, give this movie a rank. Do you have anything you want to talk about in this movie?
No.
Anything? All right, give this movie a ranking out of 10.
Okay, I have 2 rankings. So as a kid's movie, as a child, I'd give this a 9.5 out of 10. But as an adult, I give this a 7.5 out of 10.
All right, 7.5. I would have fought you for an 80, but okay. I'm giving this movie a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, well, we know that. You got the goggles on hard,
what
buddy.
Goggles is a great movie. It's a great movie, all right?
Nostalgia. Hey, what's your favorite video game of all time? What, Zelda or Ocarina of Time?
Mario Brothers 3, okay?
Nostalgia goggles.
That game holds up, okay?
Yeah, it holds up, but nostalgia goggles of there's been better games.
But this is not my favorite movie of all time. The Sandlot wouldn't even be my favorite baseball movie of all time. But it's just a great movie that every parent should show their children.
Yeah, and I agree. I would show my kids this movie. It's great for kids.
So what you're saying, if you watched this movie when you were younger and at like 5 to 10 years old, you would give this movie a 9.5.
Yeah.
So my 10 is not nostalgia goggles. It's exactly what it deserved. I just watched it at the peak age.
Yeah. What would you rate it? And as an adult, it's still
10 out of 10. I liked it just as much now as I did when I was a child.
Yeah. See, that's where the nostalgia goggles come.
Boy, here we go. You know what? I bet you if we ever got comments on this movie, I am telling you, people would side with me.
Yeah, because a lot of people have nostalgia goggles on. That's the same. That's the whole thing about Star. You could say about Star Wars. You could say it about.
What you say? Star Wars doesn't hold up?
No.
Be careful what you say.
No, it's not like that. It's more like some people, myself included, I didn't like let's say the Last Jedi. Why? Because it didn't follow the premise of like how most Star Wars
movies are. It has a horrible plot. The
plot's terrible, but I still have like it doesn't follow like the way Star Wars is supposed to be.
Oh boy, here we go. You know what? No, sorry.
What? I'm saying it's okay to have the goggles. I can admit it when I have the nostalgia goggles on.
It's a great movie. What if I told you it was the first time I saw it this weekend? Would you still? And I gave it a 10. Then what?
What? You would know this is not the first time you said it. You've seen every movie.
What if I said it was?
What?
What if I told you it was the first time I saw it and I had never seen it before? What do you call it, nostalgia goggles?
Well, obviously not.
Oh,
That's
there
like
it is.
that's like saying, what if I never seen? No, I can't even think of it. Anything right now on the spot. My brain's shutting off.
All right. That's it. I think that was a good week for a bad. Well, it was a good episode for a bad week.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right, so guys, next week on the podcast we have we're gonna be reviewing the new Jordan Peele movie, Us.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
That movie is creepy, but we'll see what happens.
I haven't seen a preview. I'm excited. I'm hoping it's better than Get Out.
Well, hopefully.
And we are going to go back to trivia, where I will be giving Xavier some questions. And if you watched it last time, you're going to see some really easy questions. I'm kidding. I'm not telling him what's going to happen for next week.
Yeah, but you're not even telling me what the topic is. I need to know the topic at least.
You'll find out next week?
No, you're going to tell me the topic now. I told you the topic last week, so you have to tell me the topic.
I didn't tell you when I gave you the quotes the first time.
No, it's
You'll
not how it
find
works.
out next week. Everyone, you guys all have a wonderful week.
You guys have a great week. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us on iTunes and everything, and Spotify and YouTube, and come on, help me out here, guy.
I think you said them all.
Oh, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Rant on Wheels at Mr.
Reels.
Rant on Reels at Mr. Xavier Barnett and at Miss Michael Fuch.
Yes, at Michael Fuch.
All right, see you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Peace.